The cell is the basic unit of all living things. It's the smallest thing that can live on its own. A cell has everything it needs to survive, grow, and respond to its surroundings. There are two types of organisms: unicellular and multicellular. Unicellular organisms, like bacteria, do everything in one cell. Multicellular organisms, like humans and plants, have cells that specialize in different tasks. All living things are connected by the cell theory. This theory says that cells are the basic building blocks of life. Every living thing, from tiny bacteria to huge trees, is made up of cells. This shared foundation connects all living things, showing that despite their differences, they all have a common basis. Cell theory is a key idea in biology. It explains how all living things are organized at a cellular level. The theory was developed by several scientists over time. Matthias Schleiden found that plant tissues are made of cells in 1838. Theodor Schwann then applied this to animals in 1839. Rudolf Virchow added that new cells come from existing cells in 1855. This concept is known as omnis cellula le cellula. Cell theory has three main principles. All living things are made of one or many cells. The cell determines structure and function, and all cells come from existing cells. However, viruses are an exception as they lack cellular structure and cannot replicate on their own. Cells come in two main types: prokaryotic and eukaryotic. The difference is how their genetic material is organized. Prokaryotic cells lack a true nucleus with DNA in a region called the nucleoid. Eukaryotic cells have a membrane-bound nucleus. Prokaryotes are smaller, ranging from 0.1 to 5 micrometers. Eukaryotes are larger, between 10 and 100 micrometers. Prokaryotes lack membrane-bound organelles, while eukaryotes have them. All cells share some common components: cytoplasm, plasma membrane, ribosomes, and genetic material in the form of DNA. The cytoplasm is where metabolic reactions take place. The plasma membrane controls what enters and leaves the cell. Ribosomes synthesize proteins. DNA carries hereditary information. Prokaryotic cells are simple life forms that include bacteria and others. They have genetic material that floats freely, not enclosed in a membrane. They lack membrane-bound parts and have smaller ribosomes. They reproduce quickly by splitting in two. The cell envelope has three layers: the outer glycocalyx, the middle cell wall, made of peptidoglycan, and the inner plasma membrane. The plasma membrane controls what enters and leaves the cell. Prokaryotes move using flagella and have other structures like pili and fimbria for genetic exchange and attachment. Their ribosomes work together to translate genetic material, and their cytoplasm contains storage granules. Eukaryotic cells have a highly organized internal structure. They have membrane-bound organelles that carry out specialized functions. Plant cells and animal cells are different. Plant cells have a rigid cell wall made of cellulose. This wall gives them a fixed, rectangular shape. Animal cells do not have this wall, so they are irregular and round. Plant cells have plastids, including chloroplasts for photosynthesis. Animal cells do not. Plant cells also have a large central vacuole to store water. Animal cells have small vacuoles or none. Animal cells have centrioles, but most plant cells do not. These differences affect how cells function, grow, and interact with their environment. The plasma membrane is a fluid lipid bilayer. It's made of phospholipids, cholesterol, and proteins. Carbohydrates form the glycocalyx on the outside. This is known as the fluid mosaic model. The membrane allows transport to happen in three ways: passively, through facilitated diffusion, or actively using ATP. Plant and fungal cells have cell walls made of cellulose. The endomembrane system includes the endoplasmic reticulum and the Golgi apparatus. Lysosomes and vacuoles also play important roles. Mitochondria produce ATP and have their own DNA. Ribosomes are composed of rRNA and proteins. The cytoskeleton provides support and structure. The nucleus has a double membrane envelope and contains chromatin. Microbodies like peroxisomes contain enzymes for detoxification. Cell theory states that all life is cellular and every cell comes from a pre-existing cell. There are two main types of cells, prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Prokaryotes are simple cells without a nucleus or membrane-bound organelles, with bacteria being a common example. Eukaryotes are more complex, with a nucleus and various organelles and include plants, animals, and fungi. The cell's plasma membrane controls what enters and leaves through transport mechanisms. Inside eukaryotic cells, the endomembrane system handles manufacturing and distribution. The cytoskeleton provides structural support and maintains shape. The nucleus acts as the cell's control center, containing DNA and directing protein synthesis. Cells connect structure and function, allowing scientists to explore life at the molecular level. Researchers use the reductionist approach, studying cell-free systems to break down complex biological processes. This strategy uncovers how physiological processes work at the molecular level, including disease mechanisms. Reductionist biology applies physics and chemistry principles to explain biological phenomena. It treats living systems as collections of molecules following physical and chemical laws. By understanding these interactions, biologists can see how cellular structures work and how molecular disruptions lead to health conditions. This approach helps identify drug targets, understand genetic disorders, and develop cellular-level treatments. Antony van Leeuwenhoek observed live cells in 1674. Robert Brown discovered the cell nucleus in 1831. Schleiden and Schwann formulated the cell theory. Rudolf Virchow added the principle omnis cellula e cellula, meaning cells come from pre-existing cells. G.N. Ramachandran analyzed protein conformation and developed the Ramachandran plot. This plot shows allowed angles in polypeptide chains, specifically dihedral angles phi and psi. It's essential in structural biology and helps design new drugs by predicting protein folding. The cell is life's fundamental building block. It regulates itself, carries out processes, responds to its environment, grows and reproduces. The cell is the cornerstone of all biological function. Understanding what cells are made of and how they work helps us fight disease and develop new treatments. Every living thing depends on cellular function. What happens inside cells determines health, development, and survival. The cell is the structural and functional unit of life, a fundamental truth that connects everything in biology.